G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to teach you everything I've learned from watching Pro Scrims in Season 6 because you guys have been asking me a whole bunch about how is the competitive meta looking, how are pros playing, how am I going to rotate, all that kind of stuff. So I want to break today into 4 main categories that you guys have been asking the most amount of questions on. So starting off with loadouts, should you be running primal, should you be running mechanical, who on the team should be running a bow, which bow is the best, should I carry Harpoon, what meds, all that kind of stuff. Then I'm going to talk about drop spots, some of the best ones on the map, but also some rotate options depending on even if you have a set drop spot. There are some ridiculous gold quests around right now, and especially the buying the next storm circle information that next to no one is talking about that is so insanely broken. I also want to talk about how to rotate and play endgame with 0 rotational items. We have nothing in the game anymore, but there are some things pros are doing that I think if you catch on to, you'll be way ahead of the curve. And last but not least, how to get your storm surge, because without snipers in the game right now, without a lot of mechanical ARs, trying to rely on primal ARs and makeshifts and bows is really difficult to get your storm surge up. But there's a few cheeky strategies I've seen the pros using that'll help you so much. So let's jump straight into it. If you guys want to watch these scrims with me, or you want to ask any questions that I didn't cover in today's video, make sure you check out my Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/Aussie Antics. I'll be live a bunch this week watching these scrims and just playing arena and a bunch of other stuff as well. Starting off with loadouts, this is going to depend very heavily on your drop spot. I can say, hey, just get all double mechanical. Everyone should have a mechanical AR and a mechanical pump, but not every drop spot has that. So I want to talk about some ways you can break up the loot to make sure that everyone's running something solid and you can have the best chance of doing well, even if you have a drop spot that doesn't get you insane mechanical parts. So starting off with, what you want to do is make sure that whoever your fragger is, whoever your back of top fragger is going to be running the mechanical pump. No matter what drop spot you go, no matter where you are on the map, you should be able to get at least 1, maybe 2 mechanical upgrades. So that's what you want to be able to spend on your pumps. Do not spend them on ARs unless you've already got everyone in your team, or at least the 2 fraggers, mechanical shotguns. You don't have to worry too much if you're the tarper about having a mechanical shotgun. Honestly, a primal shotgun while tarping can be really solid, because if you're at the front of the tarp and you get caught in a box, you're gonna be close range. It's always the tarper that gets caught when it's usually in a box or one edit above the box. Then running the primal shotgun isn't that big of a deal, honestly, but you really want to make sure that your fraggers have pumps so they can play a box or 2 back, they can hold people end game, they can go for those big shots, or if you get into mid-game fights, they're not the one having to full send it in the box, they're the one making edits, they're the one making plays, they should have the mechanical pump, and the IGL and the tarper should be the one who's holding on to the primal shotgun. If your tarper and your IGL are different people, depending on how you play your mid-game fights, you're more than welcome to have the pump on the, the tarper during the mid-game if they're a decent fighter, and then switch it in the end game. It's up to you. Just whoever's going to be the most confident when it comes to fighting needs the 2 mechanical pumps. Now, the way you should be playing the mechanical AR, or whatever the strongest AR on your team is, give it to the support player. I've seen this a lot today when I was watching Reverse 2K's team play this one out. A lot of the times he was playing with Miro and Centered. They were filling. It's not a permanent team, but obviously Miro and Centered are insane box fighters. They're super good when it comes to mid-game fights and end game. Reverse was doing the tarping, but what they were doing a lot of the time was actually giving Reverse 2K the best assault rifle, because he was holding onto the primal shotgun or the makeshift shotgun. But then when it came to mid-game and early end-game fights, he had the Scar, so he could sit back and apply pressure on the walls and do damage and really help them while they played with the pumps. You need to share the loot around. Don't give the really good AR and the really good shotgun to one player. Split it up. Designate someone who's going to be your support player, who when you're fighting is going to go for sprays. They're going to apply pressure. This is usually the person who's going to sit on high ground. Let's say you get into a full-blown 3v3 fight in a trio cash cup. 2 players will often drop down and go for angles and find piece control. Whoever has the best AR can really stay up on top, pressure down, spray down, try to expose walls, and try to keep the players down. Don't give the good AR and the good shotgun to one player. A big tip I'll give you when it comes to who carries what in mid-game, especially for storm surges, whoever is your bow player who's going to be taking most of the bow shots to try to get the surge, and again, someone on your team should be heavily practicing with the bow to make sure they hit consistent shots. Let them have the primal AR. Endgame, you can swap it up. Maybe it's going to be your fragger endgame who's really good with the bow in mid-game, but whoever's playing mid-game should not have a mechanical AR and the bow, because the mechanical AR has first shot accuracy. That's how you're going to get your storm surge tags at distance, where if you have the bow, you're going to be taking shots with the bow and not with the AR. So let them have the primal, because the primal has no first shot accuracy. The bloom at range is terrible. So let them have it so they can take the bow shots. And again, swap the loadouts towards endgame if you need to, but someone on your team should be heavily prioritizing the bow. And one thing not a lot of people are talking about, especially if you have the option to get two, the mechanical bow is better than the primal bow. Mechanical bow does 170 headshot. I think the primal only does like 130. It is so much more. Run the mechanical bow unless you're going to run the stink bow. The stink bow is obviously super strong when it comes to getting storm surge tags in scrim games and tournaments, but honestly, having one person run primal stink bow and one person run mechanical bow who's really good at getting the actual bow tags and hitting people is not a bad strategy. Each of you can carry 30 arrows. You're probably going to find enough. That's 90 potential shots. If one of your players gets maybe one headshot and a body shot, that's like 250 storm surge, and then you've got another player going for the bow shots with the stink bow. You can run both at the moment. There is enough room in the loadout. At the same time, which one you want to run, if you want to run the primal stink bow over the mechanical, if only one person's going to run the bow, that's completely up to you though. You need to decide how good you are with the bow and whether you're going to hit enough body shots and headshots to get the damage, or you're just going to go for the stink bows on walls. Now, last tip for storm surge specifically though as well is running a revolver. Not enough people are doing this, especially out of shambles drops. Getting even a gray, green, blue, epic or legendary revolver is insane. It takes one medium ammo, it has first shot accuracy, not a lot of damage drop off, and insane damage. That is your new best way to get storm surge tags. Find someone on your team who's good with the revolver. You can go for like 30, 40, 50 shots with the revolver mid game, and you've only gone through 50 medium ammo, compared to taking long range scar tags, which again is just as good, but not everyone can walk out of their drop with a scar. If you're going more of a shambles drop, you're not all getting mechanical ARs, definitely have someone carry the revolver. It is so free for storm surge. The last one, which is same as every season, someone on your team should be running the Harpoon. It is instrumental right now in getting endgame refreshes. With no mobility in the game, mats are key, and you need to get any refresh and as many mats as you can. So someone should always be running the Harpoon. Again, I can't tell you who it is because it's going to depend on who's the best with the bow, who's the best with the revolver. Usually the Harpoon's just going to go to whichever player is going to be holding nothing in the end. So everyone on your team should have double meds, AR, shotgun, and then when it comes to that third slot or the final slot, that's what's going to be divvied up between your team. Maybe you have one player carries the Harpoon and you have one player with the primal bow, one with the mech bow, or you have, one player with Harpoon, one with the mech bow, and then one with the revolver. You get to have that extra slot as an option. That's up to you guys. It depends on how you run your team. With the way upgrading works and the fact that not everyone's going to have a great loadout every time, and there's so many mixed differences with shotguns and weapons, you need to have a big discussion with your team and figure out who is best with what, but also play to your strengths, especially your input strengths. I don't normally talk about controller versus mouse and keyboard holding different weapons because I think it's a bit of a cop-out, but right now, there is a massive distinction right now between controller and mouse and keyboard when it comes to long-range aim assist and short-range aim assist. Controller's still going to have the advantage at short to mid-range, so having them with the primal AR who can just destroy people at close and mid-range and get that better bloom is so much more important than giving it to the mouse and keyboard player who's going to potentially get worse bloom, and then when they go for long-range AR tags, which we all know controller is terrible at, they have a primal and they can't do it. So if it comes down to it, maybe in the early and mid-game, give the mouse and keyboard player the mechanical AR so there's less bloom and they can go for long-range tags, and then let the controller player have the primal AR because they're going to get better bloom at that close and mid-range when you're actually using the primal AR. Because let's be honest, if you have a controller player with a primal AR going for long-range storm surge tags, you're never going to hit a single shot. But also, if you have them close though, we know the controller's going to beam even harder with that primal AR. So play to each input strengths. It's not going to be the same for everybody, but it does help a little bit in distinguishing who gets what. All right, now drop spots. This is a tough one. I'm probably going to make an entire video on this soon, or I'm going to talk about where the pros are dropping and which ones look the best coming up. But right now, any drop that has a guaranteed upgrade NPC is looking really, really solid. So Pleasant Park, Craggy Cliffs, and Camp Cod. Now, watching Chap's team go Camp Cod has shown that, again, like last season when I broke down where all the teams were going in grand finals, you almost had no one going Camp Cod because it's such a difficult drop to get Storm Surge from. It's a little bit better now because with that upgrade NPC, PC and the quests, you get so much loot that Storm Surge doesn't really matter. But when it comes to cash cups in any lobby that's not getting reliable heavy Storm Surge, Camp COD is insane right now. By far one of the best and most underrated trio drops. You have fishing, you have easy quests, and you have guaranteed upgrade. Pleasant Park is not as good. You have the guaranteed upgrade. You do have a god chest there as well, but we know Pleasant Park doesn't give that much loot. If you get it uncontested, yes, very solid, but if you get it contested, it's not going to look like the best either. It's going to be a lot of spawn RNG and a lot of spawn fighting. Craggy Cliffs is really solid. You have all the shield barrels and main house. You have a chance of a god chest as well, and you have the upgrade, and you have fishing, and you have max of all materials. So Craggy is really good, but again, if you get contested, it's a little bit sketchy, but that's pretty much every drop. A lot of the other drops are still really solid. Dirty Docks gives you really good mechanical parts. Steamy has really good god chests and also good mats as well as mechanical parts. Sweaty has good mechanical parts. There's a lot that you can think about and a lot that you can go into on each drop, but you just have to think, are you going to reliably get the mechanical parts you need to get good weapons, or do you have a gold upgrade, or do you have another option? There's a lot of really good shambles drops on the map right now and spots you can rotate into to get your parts. You really need to go out there and figure out and play the game and find where there's good mechanical or primal parts near you. For example, let's say you drop Weeping. Right now you're walking out with makeshifts all the time because you've only got about 6 or 7 guaranteed mechanical parts. Well, if you go to the bridge between you and Boney Burbs, that gives you guaranteed like 10 to 12 bone parts. One of your players gets a mechanical, you know, I gets a primal AR. You know what I mean? You need to find the spots around you that are giving you the parts. I'm going to break down in depth which pros are going which drops soon, and that might help you choose, but you've just got to go through, look at the drop spot and try to figure it out. The next thing I want to talk about though is where you're rotating, not just for your parts, but for quests. There is not enough people talking about how ridiculous the addition of buying where the next zone goes. You might not even know this exists. You can do a single quest and then buy and tell you where the next zone goes. The reason I think this strategy is so insane is it only costs 170 gold. You start with 50 and almost all of them have a quest, or all of them do have a quest for over 120 gold. So you can guaranteed get this anytime you rotate through one of these locations. So it doesn't matter where you drop. If you rotate to them, you will be able to do this. And depending on where zones go or if you get zone, it is ridiculously strong. So the main places that I know that do it right now, and if any are added, I'll put them in the comments down below and I'll pin it to make sure you guys can see it. But the ones that I know of right now is Zenith at Weather Station, Willow at Weeping Woods. Now remember, Willow walks around, so it's quite difficult. Make sure you're looking at the mini map to look for the text mark. It's not going to be Sash Sergeant that always stays inside Weeping. It is going to be Willow who walks around. And then also the Rebirth Raven, which is over near Fort Crumpet, or a little bit northeast of Fort Crumpet, just to the northwest of Sweaty Sands. Most of these guys also sell rifts as well, so that's also something really good to know of where these places are. But if you get zone, or even if you don't get zone, I mean, I'll show you an example of someone using it today in Pro Scrims and how it works. You can buy it and it tells you exactly where zone is about to be.
I haven't put Scrims yet.
4.5.
Alright, I have a... I
Well, I
messed
can
up
reveal future Storm Circle. Should I?
Do you have enough gold?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Go. Well, where's center?
Oh, it's way up here. It's way up here. That's middle.
Okay. We need to get up there early.
Yeah.
Passive's team just rotates up there. There's a quest for 120 gold to break an antenna. There's an antenna right there. It's 2 shots, break it, and there you go. You now know exactly where the next zone goes. They know it pulls far north. They need to rotate earlier, and it's just that ridiculous. It's even better if you get zone. If they were inside Caddy and they got zone, they can then see exactly where it's going to go to set up in center. This works at any point in the game as well. Let's say you get lucky enough to be in 4th or 3rd zone, like a late zone, and you go past one of these quest givers and you have enough gold and you buy it, you can potentially see where half or 4th zone's gonna go and set up. It is so ridiculously strong, and I don't think anywhere near enough teams are doing it, because now there's not as many gold NPC upgrades around the map, and there's not as many exotics. Not a lot of people are talking about the ridiculous things you can do with gold. You can buy the next zone location, or you can buy rifts, which are as equally as strong, if not better. They are 245 gold, so a little bit harder, but if you rotate to any of these spots early out of your drop, you have time to do a 20-second quest. You now know where next zone goes. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. I'm going to be doing more videos like this in the future with more in-depth information. Like I said, drop spots, I think that's the main one that you guys are going to be curious about, but I want to watch way more scrims before I can do that. So I'd really want to kind of dive in, see how all the teams are going, see if I'm missing anything before I make that really in-depth video, because I've been able to watch a few days of scrims, but with the perspectives I've had, I haven't been able to see every drop spot. And then once I get to see that and I get to experience it a little bit more, I'll make some more in-depth stuff. So if you like today's video though, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comment section down below any topics you want me to cover more in depth. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.